Hey, good morning, New Freedom Center members and family. Today is Friday. Today is Friday, March 20th. So it's the day after the first day of spring. Hope you all are well. Today we're going to continue our routine of morning coffee talk, and then I'm going to read a meditation for today. So one thing that's been on my mind, a topic that came to me was, I was thinking about technology because I'm a technology kind of guy, as some of you know, a lot of you know. And there's certain barriers with phones, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone. Well, I came up with a brief list of comparisons between the iPhone and the Android. So obviously choosing between an iPhone and an Android phone, a lot of it's going to come for personal preferences. You have to think about what you're going to use it for, your needs for a phone. So here's the thing. I came up with this little guide I found. It's really cool. You can find it on the computer. I got it from Infographics. It's a website called www.visme.co/templates, and it came up with this. So for the ease of use, it ranges the comparisons of iPhone and Android in different areas. So here's the thing. For ease of use, it says people love to say Apple products just work. It's certainly true that the iOS interface is easy to use, but so is the Android interface. Frankly, if you can use one, you won't have much trouble using the other. Now, I personally use an Android. I like the Android. I like the availability of apps, which we're going to get into later. Okay, so let's talk about fit, finish, and price. iPhones are beautiful, no doubt about that. They have very elegant casing, and a lot of times they're very, very useful, and they combine usefulness with beauty, I would say. But part of the reason for this is that Apple makes nothing but luxury phones. There will never be a cheap iPhone. If you don't want to pay top dollar for an iPhone, your only choice is to get a used one. Now, Android, on the other hand, well, they vary, and they vary wildly, according to this. Decent Android phones can go for as little as $100. Are they good looking? Not really, but they do the job at the fraction of the price of an iPhone. And once again, I prefer Androids right now because I do feel there's a lot more choices of phones and designs as well. Okay, let's talk about closed versus open systems, basically. The definition of closed versus open systems, it's going to tell you right here. The iPhone remains as proprietary as ever. It is a closed system. The best way I can define that is it's very hard for an Apple phone to connect with other types of phones that are not Apple phones. It's very hard to connect its software to other types of software that aren't Apple or if it's not an Apple phone, if it's not Apple software, chances are it's not going to connect to it. Where Android, on the other hand, is both open source and is far more open to alternative applications. The numbers of applications you can get are huge. Now let's talk about security. In this day and age, security is very important, I believe. iPhones are inherently more secure. So if your focus is on security, I believe iPhones are the way to go. Whereas if you go with Android, Google is more lax than Apple about what applications it will let into its app store. I will say that Android phones do have a feature built into them. They don't allow outside apps to be installed unless you go into the settings and change the settings, which is kind of difficult for some people. So generally speaking, they have some security with Google on their Apple store, or their Android store, I should say. Now talk about battery life and charging. Android phones don't need to be recharged as often as iPhones. Your charging may vary, so let's call this something of a draw. depending on the phone in hand and how to use it. Now here's a little suggestion I learned, a little caveat. A tip to when you first buy your phone, let it charge up completely. Charge your phone up completely. They always tell you that in the instructions, and then let it die out completely. Let it go till it runs out of juice. That may seem difficult, but if you can just do it one day, this is what's called training the battery. And the battery is possibly going to last a little bit longer if you do that. So now we go to the final category, which is software choice. As I've already been saying, the iPhone has a little bit less choices for their apps. It says here the iPhone has 22 million app choices, whereas if you use an Android phone, you're looking at 28 million choices of apps. And that's not counting the outside apps that aren't included on the Google Play Store. So I just prefer Android. Some people prefer iPhone. Again, I will say it's a matter of preference and what your needs are, what you need in a phone. So thank you all for listening, and remember, you can call in to us. A side note, I do apologize for the 2 videos I made yesterday. They were poor focus. I was trying to use a laptop, and the laptop we have does not have a good webcam. So from here on out, I'm just going to use my phone. So take care, guys. Be safe, and always remember, you can call us as long as we're here.